for those of you who've been here for the last couple of weeks, what have we literally done? We started off the end of last year by doing a massive dump or a cleansing by doing the burning bowl. And then the week after that, we came together and we said, hey, why don't you consciously pick a word that you want to embody for the year 2026? So it's kind of cool. So we've got this thing where we're letting go of stuff, then we step into this idea of consciously focusing on a word that we're going to carry with us through the year 2026. And awesome. But now, this is where I get to jump in a little bit and add my 2 cents into the mix, is that I always like to come up with something that I would like us to play with this year. So, this is going to be a year when I was thinking about this, and usually what happens is I start talking about this or these thoughts start coming to me, I don't know, usually in the fall sometimes. There's something that's swirling around and it's playing in the back of my head. And this word came up to me the first time, and it was literally something where it just wouldn't let go. It just wouldn't let go, and I kept going, I'm not so sure that's the word I want to focus on this year. But I kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking about it, because last year, remember, we played with this idea of manifesting, which is super fun. Again, just something that everybody got to play with for those people that did a little bit of a deeper dive with that. But this one kept coming up and coming up and coming up, and it's been something that swirls around. And as I played with it a little bit energetically, I found myself going, oh man, I don't know. Because it's something that's made me nervous, honestly. It's something that I've always kind of went like, yeah, but is this really it? Do you really want to focus on that? And so, of course, anytime something hits me like that, I've got to go like, dude, you need to chill out and go find out what's going on in there, because of the fact that if there's that much energy around it, there's probably something for me to learn there. And so I spent October, November playing with this word. And then finally, as I was sitting there, it was undeniable. It's kind of like this thing showed up and it was on my shoulder the whole time and saying, dude, we're not leaving. We're not going anywhere. This is absolutely what we're going to do. And you better just get your, you know what, out of the way, because this is what we're doing. And so having said that, I just want to say that my hope and prayer is that for any of you who care to kind of join along in this, and I think it would be super cool to do it collectively, but we could also do it individually, is to create something that we're really wanting to look at. And for this year, the word is going to be prosperity. So that's going to be the collective word for the year, is prosperity. And so what'll happen is over the next, what I do is I'll do roughly a lesson a quarter or 2 lessons a quarter. It just depends on how it's flowing, what it feels like. We're going to be talking about the idea of prosperity. So again, my hope and my intention is for those of you who decide to join me, that you will experience prosperity in either one or several areas of your life that you choose. Kind of like what I was saying at the intro. So wait a minute, let me get this right, Mike. I can have prosperity in any area of my life that I want to have prosperity in? Yes, you can. Okay? And for some, it may be your health. For some, it may be in your relationships. In some, it may be peace of mind. Who knows? And yes, for some, it may be in your bank account. Maybe, right? So I think when it comes to prosperity, the mistake that some people make is to think that prosperity is always about your bank account. And what we're going to talk about this morning is maybe, maybe not, right? In Unity, we take a much broader approach to it, and it includes all the areas of our lives. Because here's the thing. When you decide to live from prosperity consciousness, I'm going to say that word 50 times today, so you might want to make a note of it. Prosperity consciousness. When you decide to live from prosperity consciousness, it impacts every single area of your life. Every single one is going to be impacted and touched by this idea of prosperity. Understand, in Unity, prosperity is a state of consciousness. What? Yes. In other words, prosperity is something that we choose. I'm going to be in prosperity consciousness. I'm going to live in prosperity consciousness. And so therefore we open ourselves up, but it starts where first? Boom, right here. How do you start it? You choose it. I want to choose prosperity. Do we have to wait for there to be a big announcement? Do we have to have a band come out and play and everybody sit there and sing hallelujah and everything else like that? No, you choose it. Wait a minute, Mike, you don't understand my past. You don't understand where I'm come from. Mike, you don't understand what I'm going through right now. Let me ask you a question. Do you think God gives two rips? Do you? If you do, you're wrong. You're wrong. You can choose prosperity no matter where you stand right now. You can. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong if you're struggling. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean you screwed up. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that you're standing here in divinity going, that's what I used to do, but I want to choose something different now. I want to choose a new timeline when it comes to prosperity and abundance and all those fun kinds of things, right? So, with prosperity, it is a consciousness. It is a way that you be. It's not what you do, it's a way of being. Do you understand? Does that make sense? You be prosperous. You have that consciousness. You carry it with you. I love the idea of thinking about it. If you decide to join me in this journey, this idea of being prosperous is it starts inside. But when you first start doing it, you're not going to see it 2 minutes later when you walk out the door and you get in your car and the back seat's filled with $100 bills. That's not exactly the way the consciousness works. I mean, it might, but I'm just saying for most people, that's not the reality of what really happens. The reality is you all of a sudden make a decision, I'm going to have a prosperous consciousness, and then all of a sudden things start to swirl around you, and all of a sudden things begin to change. That's what I'm going to tell you. The thing I love in terms of, think about it this way, look outside and look at the winter. Right? It's a perfect teacher. Does it look like anything's happening right now? Does it look like anything's blooming right now? And yet, everything that is going on right now in the middle of the winter is absolutely perfect. Nature knows what it's doing. It's been there, done that. There are no mistakes that there's not any leaves on the trees right now. It needs to pause. It needs to take a break. It needs to relax. So even though it looks like nothing is going on, trust me when I tell you, there's plenty that's going on right now in terms of nature and what she's got going on. She knows what she's doing, right? The same way when you start to actually think about changing your consciousness, you're not going to see a lot of things out there. It's going to look like the winter out there. But inside, things start to change. And that's the important thing. Because before prosperity starts to show up out here in these different areas, it has to take root where? Right there. That's where it has to start first. Yeah, but Mike, you don't understand. What about this? And what about this? And what about this? And what about this? Okay, well, if you want to stay here, then keep arguing for that. And you'll get plenty more. Or you can just go, hey, you know what? All right, I'm buying the fact that I might have a little bit of something inside of me, and I'm trying to understand this little timeline thing he's talking about. I don't know. He's kind of crazy when he talks about that stuff. I'm not sure. But I'm going to buy this whole thing that I might be a little bit divine, and there might be something inside of me. And maybe, just maybe, I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to try to do something I've never done before. I'm going to buy what he's saying, and I'm going to give it everything I got. And I'm going to try and step into my divinity and declare that this year I'm going to live in a prosperous way from a prosperous consciousness. And I'm not going to worry about the past, and I'm not going to continuously argue for my limitations. Because when you do that, you're going to get them. You're going to get them. So let's not do that anymore. How many people are on board with me? Let's not do that anymore. Awesome. Awesome. This is great. So far, so good. When it comes to prosperity, it's a state of consciousness, not a circumstance. Do you understand that? Especially for those that have struggled. And by the way, if you don't think I haven't lived my days, my weeks, months, and years struggling with prosperity consciousness, wrong answer. Trust me when I tell you, I've had my struggles. I have. And so just understand it. But what I'm telling you is if I can help you at all, it's just understand that yesterday doesn't equal today. It does not equal today. It doesn't have to equal today. You don't have to sit there in a big whatever and keep reliving it over and over and over and over again. You can make a decision like, hey, I might not exactly know how this looks. I might not know how it sounds. I don't even know if I'm doing this thing right. But I'm going to believe him when he says I can stand fully into my power, make a new decision, and start living in a different way and watch what starts to happen. Why? Because of who and what you are. Because of who and what you are. And it's like, oh, I get it. Remember, prosperity doesn't begin when the conditions improve. It doesn't. It's got to start. It begins when your consciousness shifts. That's when it starts. Again, you're not seeing anything out here changing. You're not seeing anything in your world start to change right away. It's starting within. And Unity has always taught that life moves from the inside out, not the other way around, right? Prosperity is not the result of making money. Making money is the result of prosperity. Eric Butterworth said that. Yeah. Well, they say a lot of people do it backwards, right? Oh, well, when I have more, then I'll relax. Or when things stabilize, then I'll trust and then I'll believe. Or when the fear goes away, then I'll start feeling abundant. No, that's not how the game works. That's not how the game works. It's not, right? Unity would tell you no, a gentle no. That's backwards. That's what Unity would say. Wayne Dyer once pointed this out when he said that a lot of people walk around saying that what? I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. And he said, that's backwards, folks. It's backwards. He said, if you really want to change your life, you need to flip it right on its head and instead say the opposite. I'll see it when I believe it. Oh, so now I got to believe it before I'm going to see it. Well, how do I do that, Mike? How do I do that? And that's where the work comes in. That's when we start digging in. That's when we start looking at the different beliefs that we have, and we understand that we are powerful and we can create our own reality by looking at the thoughts and the beliefs that we have. So then we start looking at those things and we start doing the work, what's called the work. And we'll get into that with some of the lessons, all right? So there's a story in the Bible that illustrates this point perfectly, and it's in the Old Testament. It's called The Widow and the Oil. And I'm just going to read it to you real quick, or real slow. A widow whose been among the prophets cries out to Elijah. She told him her husband was dead and that he had revered God, and that a creditor had come to take her 2 children as slaves. Elijah asked her what she had left in the house, and she replied that she had nothing except for a small jar of oil. Elijah instructed her to borrow many empty vessels from her neighbors, to go inside with her children, shut the door, and pour the oil into the vessels, setting aside each one as it was filled. She followed his instructions. As long as the vessels were brought to her, the oil continued to flow. When there were no more vessels, the oil stopped. She returned to Elijah, who told her, "Go sell the oil, pay off your debt, and live with your children on what remained." So let me get this right. She's got debts. Her husband's died. She's got no way to pay anything. She's screwed. Or is she? Or is she? Could there maybe something going on with the story? Oh, metaphysically? Possibly, right? So let's talk about that. So, just understand something, that this isn't a punishment. Some people think, well, I'm struggling and it's a punishment. It's not. It's when all of a sudden the soul realizes that it's got to rely more on what's out there. In other words, it's telling you, hey, you need some help, and it's going to come far beyond. It's not actually far beyond, but it's outside. It's not something that you can do physically. It's something that has to happen in here, and we have access to that. We can do that. In Unity terms, the widow is human consciousness awakening to its need for spiritual law. Metaphysically, that's what it means. Not personal effort. In other words, when you're in a jam, doesn't our brain tell us, well, go, 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 do. And Spirit's going, yo, whoa. There's another part of this equation you're forgetting to include. You're forgetting that part. Because there's a whole nother part of you that could help you out of this jam right now that you're not even opening up the door to have access to it, because your brain's trying to tell you, your ego's trying to tell you, I've got this. And then it sends you running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to do everything you possibly can. And I'm going to say 95% of the times, it probably doesn't even work. How do I know? Been there, done that. Been there, done that, right? So the debt symbolizes a belief in lack, limitation, and the obligation to fear. Oh my God, how am I going to do this? Look what's going to happen. Oh my God, right? So the debt is not money here, it's the weight of old beliefs saying, I don't have enough, I'm behind. Something, my children, will be taken from me, right? The creditor threatening the children represents the fear that lack will consume our future. Very modern and very applicable to our daily lives now in some cases, right? What is the oil? That's the key. The oil's the key. Metaphysically, it represents divine substance, spiritual life energy, the inexhaustible supply of spirit. Oh, how many people want some more oil? Yeah, that sounds like fun. So here's the important detail. Guess what? She already has the oil. She's got it. We have the spiritual oil. That's what I'm telling you. It's here now. It is. So she didn't have a lot of it, but she had enough. She had enough because of divine law. And unity teaches that the supply already exists in consciousness. It's already there. Even when it seems like you've only got a small amount or it's insignificant, it doesn't matter to spirit, because spirit can take whatever it is and grow it and multiply it because of spiritual laws and who and what you are, right? So the vessels represent the states of receptivity. Oh, I get it. They symbolize openness, willingness, expectation, a capacity to receive. Yes, when you play with this game, this idea of being open and willing to receive and expecting to I can't do that, Mike. I can't expect God to actually help me out in this jam that I am. I can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And my suggestion is you do that. You do it. And I don't mean that all of a sudden you're going to go, oh, there's $100 bills just coming down from the sky. I don't mean that. But what I do know is the way that spirit works, and often it's in a thought. It's in an idea. It's a, hey, did you ever think about talking to this person? Hey, did you ever think about going here? Hey, did you ever think about doing that? Hey, did you ever think about this? Now we're cooking with oil, right? So this is one of the most important metaphysical teachings in Scripture. The oil will only flow. It will only flow as long as there's empty vessels. You got to have somewhere to put it. You got to be open to receive it. It's got to be there to go somewhere, right? So the translation is that the supply actually expands only to the degree that your consciousness is open. If you're in a jam and you're having a hard time and you're telling yourself, nothing can help me, you're powerful, folks. You're powerful. And instead of going like, hey, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know why, I don't know what it's going to look like, but God, I'm open. I'm open to receive, and I'm going to put it in your hands, and I'm going to surrender it. Now, there we go. Now we're opening it up a little bit. But what happens is the ego wants to tell you what? You're screwed. You're screwed. You're never screwed. You're never screwed because of who and what you are, ever. You're not. The act of pouring, the pouring represents faith in action. When she started pouring the oil into the vessels, did she have any clue what was going to happen or what was going to go on? No clue. Remember, they just brought her, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 vessels, and she starts pouring the oil. She's got that much oil, folks. So doesn't it look kind of silly that she's going to sit there and pour the oil? She doesn't. Why would she have all these vessels? It doesn't make sense. Faith. I don't know what's going to go on. I don't know how this is going to work out. I'm just going to start filling these vessels with oil. The widow doesn't pray for more oil. She's not praying for more, is she? Nowhere in there does it say she's praying for more oil. She's not. She acts from trust, even when it makes no logical sense. So let me get this right. I could be in a jam. I could ask God for help. He could tell me to get in your car, drive down the road 1.5 miles, and no matter what happens, turn left, go into the parking lot, and the first person you see, give him a hug. Go do it. Do it. If that's what you're guided to do, go do it. My personal experience is what happens is when I'm actually open and receptive, then all of a sudden I'll have thoughts and ideas will start to trickle in. It's not like this big revelation where it's like, oh my, God comes down and sits down and says, Mike, you should go do this. Folks, That, I don't know. I guess, we've got plenty of stories in the Bible where that really happens. That doesn't happen to Mike. But that doesn't mean God doesn't talk to me. Spirit doesn't talk to me. Spirit doesn't move through me. Actually, just the opposite. I get what's commonly referred to as downloads. So I'll be sitting there and all of a sudden, bam. It's like, oh, wow, that's super cool. And that's how it works for me. And guess what? You have your way of receiving that information as well. It just might be a little bit different. You might get it through music. You might get it through a talk with a friend. You might get it through a hug. You might get it through something else. But when you open yourself up to receive, it can come to you in an infinite number of ways. Infinite number of ways, right? The unity principle is faith is not a passive belief. Faith is movement aligned with truth. She's pouring the oil. That's her moving. It's movement. Prosperity doesn't respond to fear. It doesn't. It responds to conscious participation. You are consciously saying, I'm practicing prosperity. This is how I'm doing it, right? And finally, the miracle, the multiplication. That is nothing more than spiritual law manifesting in the physical planet. Spiritual law, folks, there are spiritual laws. There are. And when you start to understand that and you start playing with them, then things kind of make sense because so much of the stuff doesn't make sense. Let's just get real. A lot of things that we were told about the way God works and doesn't work, it just doesn't make sense. I'm supposed to pray and then God's going to give me something? Why does that rarely happen? Why? So something's screwed up in the teaching. Something's screwed up in the understandings. And yet when you start to study this stuff metaphysically, it makes perfect sense. When I was in a jam, I'm telling you right now, I said 4 gajillion prayers. Please help, please help, please help. And in the meantime, I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, afraid of everything that could possibly happen to me, cutting off any possibility of me receiving anything that I could actually do something with. That's what it was like for me when I would go through these situations. And my belief is that we could all tell stories. Everybody got a story? Everybody? Yeah. Everybody's got their story. Yeah, we do. So the oil multiplies because her consciousness shifts from fear to trust. Her receptivity expands. Her action aligns with divine order. Unity would say when consciousness aligns with spiritual laws, supply appears naturally. It appears naturally because of who and what you are and because you're loved that much. You really are. There's no struggle. There's no begging. There's no beseeching. There's no bargaining. There's no earning. None of that. Does that mean you're going to sit on your butt and eat bonbons all day? No. It means you're probably going to be inspired to do something. And then when you get that inspiration, guess what? Go do it, please. Go do it, please. Right? And then finally, paying the debt and living on rest. This is crucial and often overlooked. Just remember in the story, the oil does 2 things. It releases her from her past debt. And the other thing that it does, it sustains her future. Remember, he said, go sell the oil. Why did he say that? She had to pay off her bills. And then what does he say? He says, go on and take the rest of the money for the future. Oh, wow. So that's kind of how this works. Yes. So prosperity heals both historically, the past, and the horizon. Divine supply is not a one-time rescue. It's not. It's a new way of living. It's a new way of living. She doesn't return to panic mode. She lives differently because she knows and now fully understands where her true source is coming from. Oh, so let me get this right. Part of the story is me understanding that my source is coming from God, not my job, not my employer, not wherever it's coming from, but actually, and the answer is yes. Yes, yes, and yes.